move it to the suspense file. Oh, excuse me. Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
I have no file.
All righty. We'll move it to suspense, and we will go on to AB 844, non-resident tuition for student government office holders. This is a due pass, members. Go ahead, Mr. Lara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, AB 844 will make clear that all students, including AB 540 students, may serve in any capacity in student government at a CSU, UC, and community colleges, and that these students may receive any grant, scholarship, fee waiver, or reimbursement for expenses incurred in connection with their service to the full extent of the law. Student leaders are elected to their positions by their school student body and provide an invaluable service for their schools and communities. However, in recent events have raised concerns regarding whether a student leader is eligible to serve and receive funds allocated to their position due to their legal status. This bill will provide our colleges and universities with the clarity and guidance in the administration of these fees. Also, many community college districts also require their student leaders to serve as members of the community college district's trustee board. However, AB 540 students are also prohibited from serving on these boards and are not able to fulfill their student leadership position as mandated by their student body. AB 844 will enable AB 540 students to serve as a trustee representative of their district so long as they are elected by their peers to serve in this leadership capacity. Respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Lara. Your witnesses?
Jeanette Sanipatin on behalf of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund. MALDEF was one of the organizations that wrote the original bill, AB 540, and we did work with the author's office to ensure that the bill is in federal conformance in terms of not making this relationship an employee-employer relationship. And we worked with the National Immigration Law Center and other attorneys to make sure that the language is litigation-proof as much as possible. So we worked both on the provision to help students either receive a stipend or a grant for their service in student government, as well as the language regarding the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Next, please.
Joseph Vigela on behalf of the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles. We applaud the author for introducing this legislation. We have seen many students who are valedictorians that are very involved in high school and are able to continue to be involved in institutions of higher education as a result of this lack of opportunity to serve in student body. And for those reasons, we respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you.
Yes. Madam Chair, Bonnie Slauson representing the Community College League. And the League strives for educational equity for all students and therefore believes that all these students should have the right to be able to serve as student trustees. We believe that all eligible students who are enrolled in the college should have the opportunity to be chosen by their peers to serve on as a non-voting member of their Board of Trustees at the local districts, and therefore we are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Ronald Coleman on behalf of the California Immigrant Policy Center, also here in strong support. Thank you.
Which policy center?
California Immigrant Policy Center.
Immigrant Policy Center.
Thank you.
Mark McDonald, McCallum Group on behalf of the Glendale, Peralta, Rio Hondo, San Diego, San Jose Evergreen, and Los Angeles Community College Districts very much in support of this bill and urge your support. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Opposition to the bill? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
We're neutral on the bill.
Neutral. Members, this is a due pass.
As the principal co-author of the original AB 540, I'd like to move AB 844.
Thank you, Senator Alquist. Any comments, members? Senator Pavley.
I just had a question for my own curiosity. So students now that are officers, they don't get travel expenses like everyone else who's an officer, or it's just being questioned whether they should get it?
There is some campuses that provide reimbursement for travel expenses associated with their duties. There's some that don't, and so we're saying that
selectively.
Right. So we're just allowing for 8540 students. There was a question whether some universities and community colleges make as soon as the student wins their election and it's certified, an employee of the university.
So it's the employee status
right.
under.
Correct.
And it only relates
to
student body officers. That's
Correct.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, the bill only relates to the student leaders on the specific campus. and if the campuses provide the type of expenses, reimbursements for their student leaders.
Any other questions, members? All righty, then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? Alquist? Alquist, aye. Emerson? Lou? Lou, aye. Pavley? Pavley, aye. Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
5-0, that bill is out. Next is AB 1131, telecommunications.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, AB 1131 will provide and streamline the leasing processes for lease agreements applicable under AB 855, authored by Senator Marco Fireball in 2003. AB 855 facilitated the placement of wireless telecommunication towers and facilities on state-owned property. The bill also required a portion of the new lease revenues from the facilities to be used to address the state's digital divide. In 03, at the time of the signing, the measure was expected to generate close to $20 to $40 million based on potential agreements. Since the chaptering of 855, few contracts have been executed between the state and the telecommunication companies here in the state. Clearly, there's a significant discrepancy between the original intent of the measure and the actual implementation. I and supporters of the bill are working with DGS to address some of the cost concerns raised in the analysis, and I respectfully ask for your vote as it comes out of suspense.
Thank you, Mr. Lara. The committee analysis notes that there are requirements put on DGS in some cases to find alternative sites, and that is where we see the cost coming in. I think the bill does meet the criteria for suspense, but we'll work with you while it's in the suspense file, and then we'll deal with it a week from Thursday. But
absolutely.
Thank you. Let's go to your witnesses, and we'll take the testimony.
Madam Chair, members, I'm Susan Lipper with T-Mobile USA in support of the bill. Madam Chair, I think you're particularly aware of the wireless industry's interest in doing everything we can to expand our networks, both for our customers and I think from a public policy perspective for the state of California. Broadband deployment is extremely important. We support that too. The problem is we have such a problem with many local jurisdictions getting our facilities into their communities that the state property becomes a really important option for us, and the benefit being that we will pay you to put our things on your property.
Hey,
so,
did I hear pay?
So,
let's add an urgency clause.
That's right, quick. Pay no attention to the Department of Finance man down at the end of the table. No, anyways, love you. In all seriousness, however, there is a great opportunity here. We understand the concerns the Department of Finance and Department of General Services have, along with other state agencies. We look forward to working with them on the bill. Thank you.
Great, and congratulations for not using the phrase win-win.
There goes my testimony. Madam Chair, members, Steve Carlson for CTIA, the Wireless Association. We're the trade association for the wireless industry. We do think this is an opportunity to have the state property to be a viable alternative, but it needs to be a competitive alternative to siting on private property. We don't think it is at this point, and there would be, I think, significant revenues that come into the state if it could be a reasonable competitor to siting on private property. And with what's going on with public safety right now and Next Generation 911, text message emergency alerts, and as the chair knows from your district has been, San Diego has been a leader in this issue. We think this is a significant thing to take a look at. We're willing to work with, both DGS and CAL FIRE to come up with a way that makes sense. But in order to site on public property, it needs to be a viable alternative to private property.
Thank you. Next, please.
Kim Lewis with the California Broadband Policy Network. We originally worked on AB 855 back in 2003, and we'd just like to see what happens as the next steps in terms of why, since its implementation, we haven't been able to generate the revenues that were initially estimated from the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Other testimony in favor? In favor. Is there opposition? Seeing no opposition, Finance, do you have a comment?
We are opposed to the bill, given the cost of general services.
Members, I do think there's a general services issue here, and that we should take some time on suspense to look at it. So if there's no objections, I'll move it to the suspense file. And then, so Mr. Lara, that concludes your items, and we'll take up the other one a little further down the file.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's see. Ma, Brownlee, Bonilla, Hall. Brown. Oh, okay. Ms. Ma, you're next. Then AB 183, alcohol self-service checkouts. This is a due pass, members.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. AB 183 is my alcohol self-checkout bill. Underage drinking costs Californians an estimated $8.1 billion annually and $1.1 billion in DUI costs alone. In 2007, underage drinkers consumed nearly 14% of all alcohol sold in California, totaling $3.6 billion in sales. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 33% of teenage fatalities were due to drinking and driving. Despite California's strict laws on the sale of alcohol, minors are still getting a hold of it through illegal purchase and theft. In 2009, UCLA conducted a study where 20% of young adults were able to override self-checkout systems by scanning other items and/or swiping credit cards. In addition, with state budget cuts and hiring freezes, the ABC, or Alcoholic Beverage Control, has been systematically understaffed, where one investigator is responsible for policing almost 1,200 businesses in a year. AB 183 simply requires that alcohol be purchased through a sales clerk and not at a self-checkout machine, similar to cigarettes, spray paint, and pseudoephedrine products. I want to thank the committee for their analysis and respectfully ask for your aye vote. We believe it's better to be safe than sorry and put people before profits.
Thank you. Witnesses.
Yes, thank you. Tom Renfrey with the County Alcohol and Drug Program Administrators. We think this is a good prevention measure to try to stem the increase in underage drinking. We urge your support. Thanks.
Thank you. Next.
Shane Gussman on behalf of the Teamsters and United Food and Commercial Workers in support.
All righty. Testimony in favor. Anybody in favor, please come up now.
Deanna Furman on behalf of the California Nurses Association in support.
All right.
Sarah Flocks on behalf of the California Labor Federation in support.
Thank you. Next.
Gary McDonald, State Director for MAD California Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We're in strong support.
All righty. Other folks in favor?
Ignacio Hernandez on behalf of the Consumer Federation of California in support of the bill.
Thank you. Anybody else in favor? In favor? Seeing none, is there opposition? Opposition, please come up now. And we'll take the first three. Go right ahead. We'll start with you, Miss.
Thank you. Madam Chairwoman and committee members, Carrie Askew Bailey with the California Grocers Association. We are opposed to this legislation. First, federal data actually indicates that in the vast majority of cases, minors are obtaining alcohol either by having people over 21 purchase it for them, or they're taking it from their parents' homes, or receiving it actually from relatives. So we think this bill will do little to impact underage access to alcohol, mainly because the systems involved have very strict protocols that do require human intervention. A human being has to approve the transaction anytime alcohol is sold. So we think in this era of very scarce resources, it's much more effective for the state of California to be spending its scarce dollars in places where you really would be able to make an impact with regard to this issue.
All righty, next please.
Robert Callahan here with Tech America, also in opposition. I'd echo the comments of the previous speaker and also point out that we think this bill sets a concerning precedent in terms of banning a technology and a specific application of that technology without, in our opinion, the justification to back it up. So we oppose for those reasons and ask for your no vote. Thanks.
All righty, thank you. Any other opposition? Opposition. Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment on this?
No file.
All righty. Members, this is a due pass. Senator Alquist moves the bill. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Emerson? No. Emerson, no. Liu? Aye. Liu, aye. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
5-1, that bill is out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baum. Ms. Brownlee, did I see you? 3 items on suspense, all of them AB 202, local educational agencies. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
And your witnesses should come forward.
I am also presenting for Assemblywoman Bonilla. She has one bill.
Then we'll do Ms. Bonilla after we do you.
Very good. Thank you. So the first bill is AB 202. The intent of AB 202 is to reform and streamline the mandate process in order to reduce state and local workload, mandate reimbursement processing time, and administrative costs. The bill is consistent with findings from a state audit of the mandate reimbursement processes and with discussions that took place in a staff-level mandates working group called in for last year's Budget Act. The cost of implementing this bill will be minor, especially in relation to the potential for reduced administrative costs and the benefits of improved information for those of us involved in policy making. I also don't think in our current fiscal crisis we will see many bills that expect to have mandated costs, so the possibility of more mandated costs highlighted in the analysis will most likely, at least in my opinion, not occur. So I believe that this bill does and will result in savings to the state.
Thank you. We'll go to your witnesses.
Dennis Myers, California Association of School Business Officials. Everything in this bill is designed to make the state mandate claim process cheaper and faster, more efficient, not only for schools, but for state agencies as well. So when we look at state savings, we actually think the savings to the state and to locals far outweighs any administrative costs that might be coming up from this bill, especially in line with the fact that not only will there be less state administration, school districts would be claiming less for reimbursement on the mandated claim process. Right now, we get reimbursed for the claim process. This would reduce that as well, and that's not really noted here. So we'd ask you to support this.
Thank you. Next, please.
Katie Valenzuela with Public Advocates in support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Deborah Brown with the California School Boards Association. I'd just like to add that we think this actually has benefit for both the state and local school districts. The state will save on administrative costs. Districts will know their reimbursement sooner, and in turn, by knowing the reimbursement sooner, the state can make adjustments if they decide the mandated costs are too high. So we think that's a benefit.
Thank you. Next.
Patty Scripter, California State PTA support.
Thank you. Any other testimony in favor? In favor. Any opposition? Any opposition to AB 202? Finance, do you have a comment?
Madam Chair, we are opposed to the bill. We believe that it could result in millions of dollars in Proposition 98 costs if there are adverse decisions or enhanced findings made by the arbiter. And also, we believe that it runs contrary to the reasonable reimbursement methodology reforms that were recently enacted.
All righty. Thank you, members. This is a candidate for suspense. If there's no objections, it'll go to the suspense file. And we'll move on to AB 202, Parent Empowerment and Public Schools. 203, excuse me. 203, also a candidate for suspense. Go right ahead, Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. The Parent Empowerment Program was enacted last year during Race to the Top deliberations. The concept was to allow parents at low-achieving schools the opportunity to require reform at those schools. AB 203 establishes more specific guidelines for implementation and complements regulations developed by the State Board of Education. I just wanted to mention that the requirement for the Department of Education to translate sample petitions into other languages is also in the regulations. The department actively participated in those discussions relative to the regulations and seemed supportive of the provision at that time. They did not indicate that cost would be a problem, at least then. Secondarily, this bill is narrower than the regulations. The bill specifies that top 5 languages, while the regulations within the State Board are not specific. In terms of verification of signatures, I think it becomes quite difficult to do this and do this properly without the verification of signatures and would do children and parents an adjustment. Parent empowerment is limited to 75 schools only, but I am very happy to work with the committee while this bill is on suspense.
Thank you. Witnesses?
Hello, Katie Valenzuela with Public Advocates. We've been a stakeholder in the discussion around the parent empowerment law since it was enacted in January of 2010. AB 203 is really carefully crafted to complement those stakeholder discussions. Currently, the State Board is very limited in its regulatory process to what the law currently states, and it's critical that we clarify this law to articulate things on which it is currently silent, such as a translation of material, something we feel is very critical for parents and their informed decision-making processes. So AB 203 really is a consensus bill of all stakeholders. The authors worked very diligently to ensure of that, and we really look forward to working with the committee and staff to make sure this bill passes along.
Thank you. Next, please.
Sherry Griffith with the Association of California School Administrators. We're in support of the measure. We actually would not agree with the analysis that there will be substantial costs regarding verification, with the fact that only 75 petitions can go forward to the state. This is a pilot program. We feel it's imperative as administrators that we are verifying every single signature. This is particularly important when you have feeder districts who really have a role to play in impacting significant reforms on other districts, including the closure of schools. So we feel that we can absorb these costs, and we urge your support of the bill.
Thank you. Next, please.
Martha Zaragoza-Diaz, representing the Californians Together Coalition and the California Association for Bilingual Education. I want to concur with the comments that were made by the previous speakers, but I'd like to remind the members that this is a parent empowerment bill, so we believe that all parents should be able to participate in this process, regardless of whether they have little or no English proficiency, and so we believe that the sample petitions being translated is a very important activity to allow that to happen. And we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Any other testimony in favor?
Patty Scripter, California State PTA. I want to echo those comments. We worked really hard on cost pressures on this. We pushed for a public meeting. We finally got one at a school site council meeting, really being aware of mandated cost. So we really hope you'll move the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Other testimony in favor? In favor. Any opposition testimony? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
No file.
All righty. Ms. Brownlee, this is a candidate for suspense. Without objection, then we'll move it there and go on to AB 440, charter schools.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair and members. This bill establishes both fiscal and academic accountability standards for charter schools that are, in my opinion, long overdue. The fiscal accountability standards will ensure that charter schools receive thorough audits conducted by the same high-quality auditors that conduct school district audits. The academic accountability standards will ensure that all charter schools are of high quality. I ask you for your support of this measure.
Good. Go ahead.
Madam Chair and members, Rand Martin on behalf of the California Charter Schools Association. AB 440 represents a remarkable agreement between Ms. Brownlee and the Charter Schools Association on a number of vexing issues that we have been dealing with for a number of years. We're pleased to be in this position of support. I would like to point out that most of AB 440 is very similar both in terms of its structure and its effect to SB 645 Submidian that you all passed earlier this year. That's the academic accountability piece. The balance of the bill is mostly policy issues that have no fiscal impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, Katie Valenzuela with Public Advocates in support of the bill. This is long overdue, and it is crucial to ensuring that public school students are receiving a quality education in our public schools. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Zaragoza-Diaz, representing Californians Together, and we support the bill for all of the reasons that have been given.
Thank you very much.
Terry Burns on behalf of San Bernardino Area Districts for Better Schools in support.
Thank you.
Patty Scripter, California State PTA, support.
All righty. Any other testimony in favor? In favor. Is there opposition? Opposition to this bill? Okay, come on up.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, Bron Shea Jones on behalf of K-12 Inc. And the charter schools we represent in partnership and partner with in California, and on behalf of Charter School Capital, represent about 150 schools in California. We agree with the analysis of the committee. We question the workload this would put on CDE and their current staff. When you think about what the California Department of Education and their charter school division has to do right now, they've asked the legislature for a budget augmentation. The governor vetoed part of that budget augmentation. That was to do the current things that are before them, not the plethora of things that are in AB 440. We appreciate working with the author and trying to reach agreement. We just were not able to get there. We also would note that the audit provisions in the measure are duplicative of current law.
Thank you. Next, please.
Eric Pramack with the Charter Schools Development Center.
we share the concerns that Mr. Jones outlined. We think this bill is actually substantially different from the bill that you had heard earlier, the Senate SB 645. This bill would reach a much larger number of schools, including schools that have gone into program improvement status. And given the fact that we now have 100% proficiency targets in the next few years, just about every school in the state will end up in that status over the next several years. We think this will affect hundreds of schools ultimately and cost an enormous amount of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other testimony opposed? Finance, you have a comment on this one?
No file.
All righty, members, this is a suspense candidate also. Without objection, then I'll move it to the suspense file. Thank you, Ms. Brownlee. And now your other two, your waived presentation. We'll take up the one item from Ms. Bonilla, that is AB 339, instructional material fees. Is that right? That's right?
Yes, that is. Thank you very much. AB 339 simply reinstates the authority of the State Board of Education to enact a process to govern the social content review of supplementary instructional materials. Ms. Bonilla would like to address the cost of the bill by bringing to the committee's attention the authority given to the Department of Education to assess a fee to publishers for the social content reviews. Not only does this fee authority make AB 339 cost neutral to the state, but it will also bring a cost savings to local school districts. Without this bill, local school districts will be left to conduct their own costly review of instructional materials for out-of-cycle social content. Not only will this place an additional burden on local school districts, but it will also create the possibility of inconsistencies in social content from district to district. We have today Janice Warden-Washington from the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, who was the sponsor of the bill.
Very good. Very briefly, all three witnesses, go right ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. Janice Warden on behalf of the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, who's proud to be the sponsor of this bill. Thank you to Assemblymember Brownlee for presenting this bill on behalf of Assemblymember Bonilla. The social content reviews ensure that non-adopted instructional materials at no cost to the state are able to be used in California's classrooms that accurately portray cultural diversity, constructively demonstrate the contribution of minority groups, and make certain that the materials do not contain inappropriate references to commercial brand names, products, and corporate or company logos. Assemblymember Brownlee has addressed some of the fiscal concerns that the Department of Finance has raised. And I have with me David Almquist, who's the Education Programs Consultant with the Standards, Curriculum Frameworks, and Instructional Resources Division at CDE to speak in support and answer technical questions.
Yeah.
Hi, David Almquist, California Department of Education. I'll just note briefly that our database online currently has 34,000 instructional materials listed that school districts would otherwise have to review themselves for the social content ed code. So that's instructional materials that we have reviewed along with county offices of education that we contract with at no cost to the state and add a cost savings for the school districts.
Alrighty. Any questions, members? Next, please. Alrighty. Any other testimony in favor? In favor. Is there opposition testimony? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
We are opposed to the bill. We do believe that there could be some costs to the extent modifications of the content are needed.
Very good. This is a due pass, members. Senator Alquist moves the bill. If there's no further discussion, we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters?
No.
Walters, no. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Liu? Pavley?
Aye.
Pavley, aye. Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
4-1. You need one more, or Ms. Bonilla does. Thank you, Ms. Brownlee.
Thank you.
All righty. Mr. Perea, I think you're next. One item, maybe 1423, income taxes and federal conformity. And this is a suspense candidate, and we'll take a couple of people on each side.
Great, Madam Chair and Senators. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present AB 1423. Last December, Congress unanimously passed the Regulated Investment Company Modernization Act to change obsolete and inefficient provisions of federal income law applicable to mutual fund companies. As the chairman of the Assembly Revenue and Taxation Committee, I decided to author AB 1423 in order to conform California's income tax law to the RIC Modernization Act. AB 1423 is good tax policy. It is also important to all the affected stakeholders, including the 5.9 million California shareholders in California-based mutual funds who often depend on these funds for their savings, the 24 mutual fund companies located in California, which represent a major source of high-paying jobs and significant tax revenue to the state, and lastly, the state itself, which will, without conformity, incur significant costs in administering a mutual fund tax regime that does not conform to federal tax law.
Mr. Perry, just in the interest of time, let's go on to your witnesses. The concern is the out years after the uptick, which is sort of small. In 18-19, we start to lose $10 million annually. So if the witnesses could address that,
Sure.
and then we'll go to the other side.
Please do.
Madam Chair, Brad Williams with Capital Matrix Consulting. We were asked by Government Relations Council to do an analysis and testify today regarding our findings.
Your advice is always welcome. I haven't
Thank
seen
you
you in a
very
long
much.
time.
Regarding the fiscal estimates, you're correct. Losses in the low hundreds of thousands the next few years, and then gains, and then out about 9 years. In 2020, the Franchise Tax Board estimates annual revenue losses of about $7.5 million a year. We would say a couple things about that. One, that provision is related to ending the 8-year sunset on capital losses carryforwards. We think that in any event that an estimate going out 8 years is very speculative. It assumes that there are going to be a lot of losses that will be carried forward for many, many years. But beyond that, we have concerns about all of their estimates because they assume that there will be full compliance by all mutual fund businesses, both inside and outside of California. Only about 25% of the industry is inside of California, 75% is outside of California. We think there's a very serious question about whether, absent conformity, the outside of California firms will continue to report under old law only for California. And so we think, one, estimates are probably overstated, and two, that big number out about 9 years is very, very speculative.
Still a problem, but I appreciate the explanation.
Madam Chair, my name is Kathy Heron. I'm with the Senior Vice President from Capital Research and Management Company, an affiliate of the Capital Group companies, the largest mutual fund company in California and one of the largest investment management firms in the nation. I just mentioned that although it's not technically a provision that's included for revenue estimating purposes, California will have a pickup in revenue from conformity with the law because the federal law actually increases the mandatory capital gain distributions that mutual funds will be obligated to make, and effectively California will benefit from that increase. So there are other mitigating factors here that may not be technically reflected in the revenue estimate prepared by Franchise Tax Board.
Alrighty. Next, please.
Thank you. Gina Rodriguez with the California Taxpayers Association. In support, conformity remains a top priority for California taxpayers. And I just want to briefly note that in the Franchise Tax Board's 2010 Taxpayers' Rights Annual Report to the legislature, the advocate did state with respect to fiscal concerns that conformity would decrease the cost for taxpayers to prepare their returns, as well as decrease administrative costs to the state with respect to audits, forms, and other administrative matters. For this reason, we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Could we ask you to move that way, and then we'll take other testimony in favor of the bill?
Jennifer Tannehill with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the California Society of Enrolled Agents.
Thank you.
In support.
Next, please.
Joanne Betancourt representing the Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association in support.
Jennifer Barrera on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce, also in support.
John Norwood on behalf of Pacific Life Insurance Company in support. Thank you.
Next, please.
Patrick Shannon on behalf of Franklin Templeton and BlackRock Investments in support.
Jason Lane, California Bankers Association in support.
Other additional testimony in favor? Seeing none, is there opposition? Any opposition to the measure? Finance, do you have a comment on this?
We have a soft oppose, if you will, due to the concerns about the lack of revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Perea, this is a suspense candidate, so if there's no objections, we'll move it to the suspense file, and we'll work with you while it's in there.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did I see Mr. Calderon? We'll take up AB 252, alcohol beverage control. Yes. Whenever you're ready. And this is a due pass, members. Go right ahead.
All right. I just need to get my act together. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. This measure, AB 252, corrects a drafting error contained in a bill that was passed previously by both houses, AB 2293, carried by then Assemblyman De Leon. It was enacted in 2009. It included a list of licensees that were allowed to provide supplier-hosted entertainment, and there was a small number of distilled spirit manufacturers that were left out of that class. This bill fixes that oversight. According to Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, any costs will be covered by departments and existing fee authority. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses?
Madam Chair and members, Gavin McHugh on behalf of the Distilled Spirits Council. We're the sponsors and support the bill. Thank you.
All righty. Any other testimony in favor? Any opposition? I hear the motion from Senator Emerson. Thank you. Any opposition? Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
We're neutral.
All righty. We have a motion by Senator Emerson. We'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters?
Aye.
Walters, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Emerson, aye. Liu? Pavley? Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
5-0. The bill is out.
Thank you.
Mr. Calderon, are you presenting on the other two? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Madam Chair, I'd like to waive presentation on AB 1015 and also on AB 780 with just with one addendum in terms of the policy difference that Department of Finance has.
You're presenting then. Go ahead. You're on the file. Go ahead and present.
Okay. Let me present. I think, they're saying, well, what do we give this advantage to this group and not to anybody else's? And come on, we're big boys. Everybody understands that tax increases are part of the job. And what's the big deal here? We don't like this. Well, the reality is that this bill will allow the state to negotiate a contract where an increase in the taxes would be a force majeure, then constituting the ability to reconstitute. A lot of these fixed price contracts make assumptions about what the costs are going to be for them to build a particular project, and they work their profit in. And sure, increases in taxes is always a possibility, but it doesn't always happen. And in fact, if you take a look past history, it's more likely that increases in taxes will not happen than it is that they will. But if the taxes increase when a contract was entered into based on these assumptions, there ought to be a way to allow the state right there when they're negotiating the contract in the first place to be able to agree that if taxes go up, then
the state will pick up the difference.
This thing will pick up.
All right, let's go to your witnesses.
Madam Chair, Dave Ackerman, representing the Associated General Contractors, the prime sponsor of the bill. You made this similar change in 1989 and 91. Which exempted fixed price contracts from the increase in the tax. You also approved local agencies when they do their local option sales tax increase are given an accommodation. This would basically mirror the same thing. Your governance committee in the Senate narrowed the scope of the bill, so it narrows the fiscal application on the bill. I believe the Department of Finance, I think, has concerns with the bill, but they're not fiscal, they're policy concerns. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Chris Walker on behalf of the California Association of Sheet Metal Air Conditioning Contractors. Again, this bill is essential for small businesses. They take a huge hit should a tax increase occur after a fixed price contract has been entered into. In construction, it could be 40 to 50% of the contract can be materials. Half a percentage point on a job is absolutely huge to these small businesses. We see this as a good bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council, also in support.
Julie Broyles here on behalf of Associated Builders and Contractors, also in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Phil Vermeulen, representing the engineering contractors, several other contractor associations. Strong support on this measure. Thank you.
All righty. This is public contracts. That's in favor. Any opposition testimony? Any opposition? Seeing none. Finance, you have a comment on this one?
Madam Chair, as stated, we are opposed to the bill. We do think that the bill could result in increased contract costs for all state agencies.
Thank you. And this is a candidate for suspense, so if there's no objection, then comment from Senator Alquist. Go right ahead.
I have supported this idea of Senator Assemblymember Calderon's over the years, and I think it's a very fair concept, and I hope eventually it will get out of suspense. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
All righty. That goes to suspense, and we will move on to Mr. Cedillo. Very good.
Madam Chair, you're doing an excellent job. Been watching you all day.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. And we'll take up AB 289. It's still headed to suspense, but I appreciate the kind words.
Well, I knew that. No secrets here.
And you did not. I'm not implying that.
Third opportunity for us to extend the sunset on 289. It's proven to be a very successful program, and unfortunately, it's one of those words like disfortunadamente. It's one of those longer words. Unfortunately, we continue to have the need for AIDS, HIV research and support services, and so we will have a need to continue this program at least until 2019, at which time others, probably not in this room, will be able to review this and evaluate it. A very successful program, and I know that once it is considered on suspense, we'll have a fair opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. And we'll go to your witnesses.
Margaret Shedd, State Board of Equalization. We're the sponsor of the bill, and we ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Rand Martin on behalf of the AIDS Healthcare Foundations. We're one of the beneficiaries of this tax exemption, have been for the 15 years that it's been in operation. The one thing I would like to point out is that the revenue that we realize in this bill ensures that that indigent HIV patients are given medical services outside of the hospital process. It's actually, we think, over the last 15 years, a substantial cost savings to the state by allowing an organization like AHF to do the work on behalf of these folks rather than sending them to public facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the bill? Any other testimony on the bill? And then Finance, do you have a comment?
Madam Chair, we are opposed to the bill due to the loss of revenue.
All righty. Mr. Cedillo, it is a candidate for suspense. We'll work with you while it's on there. We note the opposition of the department. So.
Yes. No. Very reasoned. I thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Gatto here? Mr. Gatto, you have two items. One, it's a due pass. And we'll start with AB 306, your suspense item. And you can tell us, first thing, how to say the other word there, electric.
Well, you know, I've heard two different pronunciations. One of them is piezoelectric, but some scientists pronounce it piezoelectric. So, and I've heard piezoelectric too, but
sure.
It's like my last name. As long as they're not calling me jerk, I'm happy.
All right. Well, tell us all about them, whatever they are.
So, AB 306 would require the Energy Commission to study the possibility of applying piezoelectric technology in the state of California. The technology has been used by the U.S. Navy for years to generate sonar. Now, with sonar, the electric pulse is shot into the material and out comes a vibration, and the vibration is used to generate the sonar wave. Recent breakthroughs have resulted in the ability to reverse the process. So that is, a vibration goes into the material, and out comes electrical energy on the other end. This has engineers around the world justifiably very excited, because our roads, railways, and runways are huge sources of vibrations and can therefore become huge sources of electrical energy. In a state that is crisscrossed with roads, it doesn't take an optimist to realize the vibrations, which is energy that is otherwise wasted as cars and trucks rumble down the highways, can be a source of electrical energy and used to power lighting, charge electrical vehicles, or simply placed back into the grid for homes to use. The sensors are relatively easy to install. They look like small watch batteries, and they can be installed during regularly rescheduled repavings. At this point, Madam Chair, I should make clear, just to correct a small error in the analysis, that the pilot project would take place in a lab setting or on a test road. We're not going to rip up the 5 freeway as a result of this study. I should also clarify that we took amendments to remove all costs to Caltrans. Japan already uses this technology to power its lighting in the Tokyo subway station. Israel already has a road that produces electricity and lots of it. Italy is installing the technology underneath their autostrada, and as are others around the world. California, where we think of ourselves as cutting edge, should join these other governments, and this bill is an important first step.
Very good. Let's go to your witnesses.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. We're hopeful for this technology, not only that it will produce jobs for our members, but obviously help with the environment in the long run. Thank you.
All right. Other testimony in favor of the bill? Is there any opposition testimony? Seeing none. Finance, do you have a comment?
We are opposed to the bill because we believe that there are costs. I'm not aware of amendments or anything that took Caltrans out of it, so we're opposed.
Thank you. Members, it is a suspense candidate. If there's no comments, then we'll move it to suspense, and we'll go on to AB 1184, which is an action item. It's a due pass with amendments, retirement benefits for public employees. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the goal of AB 1184 is to save the taxpayers of well-run cities from having to pay the pension costs of cities that are not so well-run. Under the current CalPERS formula, a city can spike an employee's pension for 1 or 2 final years of service, and the cities where the employee previously worked, not the spiking city, end up paying the increased pension costs. This is how the mismanagement in, say, a city like Bell ended up costing the cities of Ventura, Simi Valley, Glendale, and others millions of dollars. And it's not just in Bell. So what AB 1184 would do is it would require CalPERS to calculate whenever a salary is spiked, whenever a salary skyrockets, and to apportion the attendant increase due to the spiking to the city that provided the extreme increase. I believe this will end the current situation of taxpayers in well-run cities having to pay for the irresponsible excesses in other cities. And I also believe it will dissuade and discourage all cities from tolerating pension spiking. Okay. Now that it is clear that they, and not others, will end up having to pay for it. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gatto. Witnesses in favor? Any witnesses in favor? Any opposition? Any opposition? Finance, do you have a comment?
No file.
All righty. Members, this is a due pass. It's a reasonable bill. Senator Alquist moves the bill. If there's no further comments, then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Emerson? Aye. Emerson, aye. Liu?
Aye.
Liu, aye. Pavley?
Aye.
Pavley, aye. Price?
Aye.
Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
I am. You have 6 votes. That's enough, but I'm keeping the roll open for Senator Walters.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gatto. Mr. Amiano, are you here?
Yes, we are.
Is that the royal we?
That's the royal we. I have a tapeworm.
Who is the we?
I have a tapeworm, man.
You're waving. Yeah. You're waving,
hungry for justice.
You're waving on only 2 items, I'm pointing out.
No, in deference to your sitting for so long and being such wonderful deliberative body, I'm also going to waive presentation on AB 683.
683.
And AB 717, so I'll only be presenting on 2.
Thank you.
That my witnesses had to leave had nothing to do with this.
You get extra points.
All right, good. Yeah.
Some extra points.
Thank you.
Maybe not enough extra points. All right.
899.
We're going to start with. Well, I have Okay, we can start with 899. That's the one with the most witnesses, I'm sure.
Yes.
AB 889, this is the domestic work employees.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
I'd ask those that want to testify to come forward quietly. We're going to take the testimony, but we want it to be orderly. So, Mr. Amiano, whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to present AB 899, the Domestic Workers' Bill of Rights. Every day, over 200,000 domestic workers in California enter into the most personal sphere of their employers' lives by performing work as nannies, housekeepers, and caregivers in private homes without the most basic labor protections. Without domestic workers, California's economy would greatly suffer, as many Californians would be forced to forego their own jobs to address their household needs. Despite the importance of their work to California's economy, most domestic workers are not provided with the most basic of rights expected by nearly all other California employees: equal rights to meal and rest breaks and overtime pay. Therefore, worker exploitation in this industry has remained invisible and unmonitored. AB 889 rights these wrongs by establishing basic protections for domestic workers. This bill is not only about ensuring fair and equal labor practices, but humane treatment. This bill also addresses the unique nature of the workforce by providing industry-specific protections to use kitchen facilities, cook their own food, and create standards for sleep. AB 889 further ensures that domestic workers receive equal rights to decent wages and workers' compensation. Despite these tough economic times, we cannot lose sight of the issue at hand: equal rights and labor protections for a group of people who have been historically treated as second-class citizens. With me today are Matilda and Meg to provide testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Amiano, and we'll go to your witnesses. Oh, you want to turn on your mic?
Buenas tardes, gracias por permitirme hablar y gracias por escucharme. Me llamo Matilde Vázquez y vengo de la colectiva de mujeres.
My name is Matilde Vázquez and I come from
A little bit slower, we want to hear it.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
De la colectiva de mujeres de San Francisco. Soy una trabajadora doméstica desde hace 4 años.
I am a domestic worker since 4 years ago.
Y mi madre trabajó trabajó en una casa cuidando 2 niños más de 10 años y limpiando. En esos 10 años yo no la vi tomar vacaciones.
My mother was also a domestic worker for more than 10 years, and in those 10 years, I never saw her take a break or take vacations.
Ella estaba de 7 de la mañana a 9 de la noche cuidando y algunos fines de semana yo tenía que ir a ayudarla porque ya no podía más. Tenía que también yo cuidar a los niños, limpiar zapatos y limpiar las refrigeradoras para que ella pudiera tomar algún descanso.
In those 10 years, I was also a domestic worker because I would have to help her since her fatigue was just immense.
Esto ha pasado hace más de 40 años y hoy en día sigue pasando.
This has been since 40 years ago, and today it is still happening.
En este momento nosotros estamos buscando su apoyo para que podamos estar protegidos y luego recuperar nuestra dignidad y nuestro respeto y así poder contribuir con esta economía.
Right now, we're asking for your support so that we can continue to contribute to this economy, so that we can continue to have dignity and respect for our work.
Pagamos nuestros taxes. Estamos cumpliendo con la ley y definitivamente necesitamos su apoyo. Está en sus manos dar este cambio y parar este tipo de abusos.
We are complying with the law. We are paying taxes. We are contributing to the economy. And it is in your hands that we stop the abuse.
Y finalmente podríamos crecer, que esa industria que está creciendo sería mucho más profesional y aseguraría mucho más la contribución económica a esta gran California.
And if we professionalize this industry, it is going to improve the quality of care for all Californians. It is the time now.
Gracias.
Ma'am, where do you work? What city?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Okay, so your English is good too. Then we'll take the next witness.
My name is Meg Yardley. I live in Oakland, and I'm an employer of a nanny for my 2-year-old daughter. In my experience, becoming an employer of a domestic worker was a confusing process. There were no clear guidelines about what we should do about things like holidays, sick days, raises, meal breaks. So I was part of a nanny share, so I followed the lead of other parents and just assumed that my nanny's needs were being met. But domestic workers shouldn't have to count on employers just happening to be nice, happening to be well informed about their responsibilities.
You sought a helper at home. How did you buy on at the internet or word of mouth? Nanny Share is a neighborhood operation, or tell
a Nanny Share meaning that it was a neighborhood situation where just a couple of families have a nanny who cares for the children together in one of the family's homes, or sometimes in different homes.
Got it. So you didn't go through an agency.
No.
Okay.
This was a private thing, word of mouth. So, I from my experience, I really believe that having clear expectations and clear guidelines improves the quality of care and the ability of parents and nannies to communicate and work together as a team. I also think that I know that this committee is concerned with costs, and I just want to encourage you to think a little bit about the hidden costs of not passing this law. When there's a situation where there's high turnover among workers, which is what happens when the conditions are not good, when employees can possibly make mistakes due to not having had their basic physical needs met, like not getting enough sleep if they're a live-in worker, or not being able to take time to eat their meals. When the employees don't make enough to afford health care, then they need more emergency care. And when employers have high turnover in their domestic workers, then their health and their work attendance also suffer. So these are hidden costs that are already being paid by California right now that will continue if this bill isn't passed.
Any other points?
Just that I really feel that my daughter receives better care when her caregiver is well-fed, well-rested, and doesn't have to worry about her basic needs being met.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a lot of testimony. Members, let me switch gears for one moment. We have a couple of open roles here, and I know some members may be leaving. So could we please return to, who's this? Oh, AB 54 by Mr. Solario. This is, the count is 4-0. The chair and the vice chair are aye. If you would call the absent members.
Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Pavley? Aye. Pavley, aye. Price? Runner? Steinberg?
Okay, 6-0, that bill is out. And then AB 339 by Ms. Bonilla. It is 4-1, chair aye, vice chair no. Call the absent members, please.
Emerson? Lou? Aye. Lou, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
5-1, that bill is out. Okay, now we're back on Mr. Amiano's measure. Thank you for your courtesy. It's just getting late in the day. So we're going to go on to additional testimony in favor of the bill. I'll take two more witnesses with their testimony, and then the remaining witnesses will just give me their name and affiliation, and you'll file up here and speak on the microphone. Okay, everybody understand? Okay, two more speakers? Are there two more speakers in favor? Come on up.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joseph Vigela, and I'm with the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's a long day. This bill not only recognizes that this difficult industry needs to have some sort of oversight, not only for individuals but also third-party agencies, because we have seen cases in Southern California of agencies who hire workers, charge X amount of money to the house owners or whoever's hiring the nanny, and then only pays minimum wage to the workers in addition. And the main reason is because a lot of caregivers who are living in do not qualify for overtime. And so this is a good bill that clarifies current law and makes sure that it's simple, and it makes sure that not only individual employers but also third-party agencies are accountable. And for those reasons, we respectfully request your support.
Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Gracia Lima. I'm with the California Domestic Workers Coalition, and I just want to point out that several of the cost items for the bill for the state have actually already been removed. IHSS, DDS, Cal OSHA protections. And so I just want to say that the bill is probably as lean. We have made several compromises along the way for the bill.
Yeah.
So I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you. And we have those changes, but we still have some costs in the bill. So thank you. All right. Now we're going to go to name and affiliation. So if folks could come up and speak on the microphone, tell us your name and what city you're from. But first, this gentleman's going to make his statement.
Good afternoon. Ronald Coleman on behalf of the California Immigrant Policy Center, also here in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And then everybody goes that way.
Claudia Reyes from Mujeres Unidas Activas in Oakland and San Francisco, and also we're part of the National Domestic Workers Alliance.
From San Francisco. Thank you. Welcome. Come on. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Neira Ortega. I'm a domestic worker for 14 years, and I'm a member of Mujeres Unidas Activas for Oakland, and I support strongly to AB 889. Thank you.
Next,
mi nombre es María Distancia, vengo de Oakland, de Mujeres Unidas Activas, y tengo 20 años trabajando en limpiando casas, y yo apoyo eso.
Okay.
Translation for that?
Yeah, we need. Who's the other woman that's translating, or are you going to stay?
I can translate.
Right. We need one person to do that. You're going to stay there?
I can stay.
Fine.
So she said, my name is Maria Distancia. I'm a member of Mujeres Unidas y Activas in the California Coalition of Domestic Workers, and I've been a domestic worker for 20 years, and I support the Bill of Rights.
Okay, very good. Next, please. Welcome.
Mi nombre es Piedad González, vengo de San Francisco, soy la organización Power. Tengo 20 años de estar trabajando aquí con el mismo problema.
My name is Piedad Gonzalez. I come from San Francisco. I'm a member of the organization Power. I've also been a domestic worker for 20 years in which I've had to endure the same struggles.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Martinez, and I'm a member of MUA, and I've been working for 4 years.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, me llamo Edith Aguilar, soy trabajadora doméstica desde hace 10 años, soy de la colectiva de San Francisco, California.
Thank you.
My name is Edith Aguilar. I've been a domestic worker for 10 years, and I'm a member of La Colectiva in San Francisco.
Geraldine Stapleton, Vice President for the California National Organization for Women, also Project Director to End Human Trafficking in American Labor for the Jewish Labor Committee, and also speaking on behalf for the Los Angeles Network to End Slavery. We are in very, very strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please pass it.
Jeanette Sonic-Patin, Legislative Staff Attorney on behalf of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, in strong support.
Thank you.
Santosh Siram Santana with Asian Americans for Civil Rights and Equality, in strong support.
Coco Gumakal with the California Commission on the Status of Women, in support.
Sarah Flox, the California Labor Federation, in support.
Cindy Young, California Nurses Association, in support.
Patricia Belasama, President, California National Organization for Women, California Now, strong support.
Thank you very much.
And my name is Ariana Gil Nafarrate. I'm with Mujeres Unidas y Activas and the California Coalition of Domestic Workers, in support.
All righty. Any other testimony in favor? In favor. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to opposition testimony. We'll take 3 speakers. Mr. Hicks? Oh, no, not Mr. Hicks. Another man. Anybody in favor of the bill should come up now. In favor of the bill. Okay, there's one more man who wants to testify in favor, and then we'll go to opposition. Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry for the hold up. C.T. Weber, Chair, Peace and Freedom Party, California, in favor of the bill.
Thank you. All righty. Now, you're opposing the bill? Okay, good. So now we're moving to opposition. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Jordan Lindsay with CASA, the California Association for Health Services at Home, representing home care, home health, hospice providers. The policy aspects, while very, very controversial, were well discussed in the Senate Labor Committee, and there were issues and concerns raised in that committee. So I'm just going to, of course, speak to the fiscal. Yes. And your analysis does a very good job. We agree with much that is stated in there. One quick example of how DLSE could see an increased amount of work due to claims. The bill now would say that a caregiver would have to have 8 hours uninterrupted sleep. So let's say that, and you could have an agreement not to pay for those 8 hours of sleep as long as they're uninterrupted. If a 90-year-old woman all of a sudden wakes up in the middle of the night, needs to use the restroom, the caregiver gets up. Now that woman, the 90-year-old woman, is on the hook to pay for all 8 hours of those sleep because that sleep was interrupted. You can imagine how many times that's going to become controversial, how many times there's going to be claims. $50 a day is what is in the bill. Additional other $50 claims, there's half a dozen or so different ways that could increase the amount of work for the state, the workers' comp to DLSC. We think the analysis did a very good job. So thank you very much.
Yes, I'm Roxanne Cobb. I'm a personal care attendant and have been for a few years. My main clients are 24-hour live-in. It will be hard on, mostly it's elderly, so it'll be harder for them if they have to pay overtime after 8 hours. They can barely afford it now, so therefore it will cut down as far as their health will diminish, basically, because they won't have the care that they need 24 hours around the clock. Also, I am taking care of a client right now who went into surgery just this morning, and he needs 24-hour care. He can barely afford it now, and therefore he won't be able to afford 24-hour care.
And what city do you work in, ma'am?
I work in the Bay Area.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Next,
I'm
please.
Denise Collins. I am a third-generation owner of a domestic referral agency and a home care agency in San Francisco. I oppose 889. Wage Order 15 is the domestic rights. Housekeepers are eligible for overtime. Nannies are eligible for overtime. I want to speak to two very fiscally irresponsible requirements in AB 889. One, which is already covered in Wage Order 15, states that anybody who lives in may use the kitchen facilities. This bill states any person can use the kitchen facilities. Anyone here who employs a housekeeper to come in your home is going to be charged $39,000 for 1 year if you do not allow the person to use. The other thing I want to talk about is you're going to eliminate the nanny industry. As a vice president of APNA, Alliance Professional Nanny Agencies, we have vetted all our agencies for the last 20 years to educate all our clients and all our nannies about what is the law in California and other states. This bill says that nannies must have off-duty rest periods. That's not possible. That means you abandon a child. So you can't hire a nanny because you can't find someone. I can speak as a 30-year owner of a staffing agency. There is no way in the world I can get somebody to go out and give a 30-minute rest period and then a 10-minute rest period. I have with me figures of over $100 million that was just generated in legal payroll in California by only 10 nanny agencies when we referred to this company, and they have given this me to give to you. So if
we'd like to see that. You could give it to the committee. How many employees do you have?
I don't have employees.
Okay. How many caregivers do you send out into the community?
My agency places 100 a year. And we estimate we have over 10,000 nannies in California right now.
And how many clients do you deal with?
Do I deal with?
Yeah, in your company.
I deal with about 1,000 a year.
I see. Okay.
That we actually do business with, because we also place housekeepers, cooks, private assistants, personal house managers, estate managers.
Oh, so it's not just for the elderly or the disabled, or
I'm talking for the nanny housekeeper industry.
Got it.
That Wage Order 15 already has overtime, already has wage and break periods.
Good.
Already has everything that this bill is seeking.
Thanks for the information. Please pass that on to the committee here. Miss, go ahead.
Deborah Doct from Disability Rights California. We continue to have an oppose unless amended position. With all respect for the caregivers, we are trying to balance the rights of people with disabilities who employ these folks privately and whose own economic status is more like those of the caregivers than, say, Meg Whitman, but everybody would be treated equally by this bill. They just do not have the financial wherewithal.
Mr. Amiano wanted to put in a Whitman clause, but he thought it would be a problem.
Yeah, I did her hair and makeup, though, and I got paid a good wage for it.
All righty. Okay, I won't make any more jokes. Go ahead.
Please do. A previous witness said that this bill is needed because she didn't have guidance on what to pay her nanny. There is plenty of information on the internet from agencies on model contracts, so I don't think that's a reason to have this bill with its costs for people with disabilities. Every single statewide disability rights organization is opposed to this bill. We absolutely would continue to work with the author, but we want the recognition that there are costs to be borne by people who have half the income of most people in California.
All righty, thank you. Next, please.
Charlotte Newhart with the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers. We also have an oppose unless amended in our meeting with the author's office on Wednesday, and look forward to having our problem solved.
Thank you. All righty. There's other testimony opposed to the bill? Opposed. Okay, so can we just have your name and affiliation, and if you could file up and then go off in the other direction so we can keep the line moving. I'm assuming all this line is to say. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Ronnie Maben. I own Heritage Senior Care. We service 3 counties of Southern California. I'm also chapter chair for the American Board of Home Care, and the daughter of an aging father who will no longer be able to afford home care through, once this bill is passed.
Thank you, ma'am.
We do oppose.
Thank you. Yeah, that way. Thank you.
Carol Sachs from San Diego.
Welcome. I see.
Thank you. Thank you. I oppose the bill for 2 reasons. Number one, because I'm disabled, and like that person that was representing the disabled said, we're not going to be able to afford any care.
I would really like folks, because there's so many, just your name and affiliation.
I own Comfort Keepers, and I'm against the bill.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Madam Chair and members, Monica Miller on behalf of the Northern California and Southern California chapters of the National Private Duty Association, representing over 100 agencies statewide. We are opposed to the bill. Additionally, Jewish Family and Children's Services of Los Angeles and San Francisco, who are also opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Thank you. Hello. I'm Shirley Cohen, the founder and executive director of Home Sweet Home Care, in business in San Francisco, Redwood City for 21 years, and we oppose this bill.
Thank you.
It's going to expand. We want we need tort reform, not tort expansion.
Thank you.
Kiana Hicks, Visiting Angels, Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
Thank you.
Alicia Fadukin, Accent Care, Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
Lelena Escobar, owner of Home Watch Caregivers, and I oppose.
Anika Williams from Accent Care of California, I oppose.
Anna Maria Ortiz, Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
Letitia Brandon from Accent Care from Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
Thank you.
Michael Cole, Home Care Extraordinaire, a family-owned business in Orange County, and we oppose.
Mary Lou Peet, Comprehensive In-Home Care from El Dorado County, and I oppose this bill because it is going to drive labor underground and cost taxes to the state.
Hi, I'm Leisha Gray. I'm a caregiver with Comprehensive In-Home Care in El Dorado County, California.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Annie Aguzzi, Director of Marketing and Community Outreach with Loving Companion Senior Services, and I strongly oppose the bill. Thank you.
Ron Coloma with Loving Companion Senior Services of Sacramento. I oppose 889.
Thank you.
Faiza Sabine, Loving Companion Senior Services, and I oppose.
Blaze Marshall with Loving Companion Senior Services, Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
Jackie Sutherland of Accent Care, Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
My name is Velva Williams with Visiting Angels from Sacramento, California, and I oppose.
I'm Patricia Cook from Sacramento, California, representing Visiting Angels, and I oppose the bill also.
My name is Michelle Funston, and I'm from Accent Care, Sacramento, California. I oppose.
Terry Miller, Sacramento, Accent Care. I oppose.
Catherine Vaughn, owner Home Instead Senior Care in Marin County. We oppose.
Buck Shaw, owner of Scott Shaw Enterprises. We provide care to about 300 seniors here in Sacramento, and we strongly oppose.
Yeah.
My name is Deborah Savoy, Personal Care Services Incorporated, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Marvin Lawson, I'm a private citizen. I'm the retired and son of some infirm parents, client of Senior Care. I oppose.
Brian Jackson, I'm the president of South Bay Senior Solutions from Gilroy, California, and San Jose, and I'm strongly opposed to the bill.
Rachel Breedlove, Human Relations with Visiting Angels Senior Home Care of Sacramento, and I oppose.
Thank you.
My name is Holly Todd. I'm with Visiting Angels Senior Home Care here in Sacramento. We're individually owned and operated. I represent over 50 agencies across California. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia Jones, owner and operator of 2 franchises, Home Helpers Caregivers in Los Angeles County and Ventura County.
Thank you.
I strongly oppose.
Thank you, yes.
Pam Huerta, servicing the Southern San Joaquin County, owner of Comfort Keepers, and I strongly oppose.
I'm Dave Huerta from Comfort Keepers, San Joaquin and Stanislaus County, and I do oppose.
Andy Smith, Comfort Keepers, Thousand Oaks. This will significantly drive up the cost of home care for seniors. I strongly oppose. Thank you.
Nathan Vale, Assisted Freedom Incorporated, Butte County. I oppose.
Tammy Lopez from Comfort Keepers in Woodland, and I oppose.
Neil Goforth, owner, Comfort Keepers, Yuba Sutter, Nevada County, and I oppose.
Good afternoon, Lisa Virgo, Comfort Keepers, Anaheim, small business owner, oppose.
Arthur Virgo from Comfort Keepers, Anaheim, oppose.
Brandy Johnson, representing Home and Said Senior Care, 65 franchises in the state of California, over 60,000 seniors. We strongly oppose.
Candy Smith, serving Napa, Solano, and Sonoma County from SunCare Inc., and strongly oppose.
Marty Cruz with Managed Care Inc., covering San Mateo County and Contra Costa. We strongly oppose.
I'm Roberta Deepaus, and I'm with on the National Board and activist for 9 to 5, Association of Working Women, and I got put in the back, and we definitely support. Oh, yes, support.
Randy Hicks of Californians with Disability Rights. We're with DRC. We're opposed unless amended because of Wage Order 15, and we'll be in negotiation with the author.
I'm Anna Preciado, owner of Comfort Keepers, serving Yolo, Solano, and Sacramento County, and I oppose.
Stephanie Ortiz of Woodland Comfort Keepers, and I oppose.
Robert Von Hoff, Visiting Angels, Redding, California, with 35 employees, and we oppose.
Stephanie Stevens, representing Senior Helpers of California, and we oppose.
Susan Grant, Grant and Ingraham, In-Home Care, Berkeley, California, over 100 caregivers who oppose this bill, as I do.
Kelly O'Sterling, San Francisco, small business owner and elder care advocate, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Jim Robinson, Northern California, all counties from Butte County North. We strongly oppose the bill.
Kathy McTiernan, owners McTiernan Home Care, San Mateo County. I strongly oppose this bill.
Charles Symes, Arcadia Home Care and Staffing in San Francisco, serving 11 counties, 1,200 employees, and also the Northern California Private Duty Association chapter president. Strongly oppose.
Yahida Almaguer with Accent Care, and I oppose this bill.
Stephanie Cowles, Accent Care, Sacramento, and I oppose the bill.
Hi, Catherine Moore, Accent Care, representing Northern California. I oppose this bill.
Bob Naylor, Addis Healthcare, oppose.
Gail Lohman with Visiting Angels in El Dorado Hills. We have clients in El Dorado, Amador, and Sacramento counties, and I oppose.
Andy Howard, founder and owner of Home Care Professionals, and we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we definitely oppose this bill. Thank you.
Marion Kremen, Marin County, social worker, also owner and operator of Visiting Angels, Sonoma County, Napa County, and I oppose this bill.
Hi, my name is Jessica Thomas. I'm from Comfort Keepers in 3 areas, Walnut Creek, Pleasanton, and Fremont, and serving Alameda and Contra Costa counties, and we strongly oppose.
Kara Leong from Livermore, California, Comfort Keepers, servicing Alameda and Contra Costa County. I strongly oppose.
Chris Gunderson, Rockland, California. We serve Placer County with Visiting Angels, and we are in opposition. Thank you. Martha Gunderson, Rockland Visiting Angels, and I oppose. Thank you.
Jim Nichols, Benchmark Home Care, and we service LA and Orange County.
Kathy Jans, Match Caregivers, RN, mother of a disabled child, San Mateo and Santa Clara County, and I oppose this bill.
Christina Martinez, Match Caregivers, I oppose.
Jeanette Pagliaro, owner, Visiting Angels, covering Santa Cruz and Monterey counties, and I oppose this bill.
Jim Hammond, Comfort Keepers owner, Redlands, Riverside, I oppose.
Denise Hammond, owner of Comfort Keepers in Yucaipa, California, and I oppose.
Greg DeGier with the ARC and United Cerebral Palsy in California. We continue to have an opposed unless amended position, and we support the amendments presented by Disability Rights California.
Steve Horn, COVID Care, Redwood City. Could I take one moment to explain a nuance that hasn't been addressed in this? Okay, thanks. So the increased cost, we believe, will drive a lot of people into the under-the-table market. The reason why this is important in an issue that hasn't been addressed is that as the age of people aging in place increases, the complexity of what's being managed in the home increases. If you blow the whole market out and atomize it so that there is no professional oversight of what's going on in people's homes, this increased risk will have no way of being addressed. The author says that the bill mirrors the New York bill. I operate also in New York State. The New York bill specifically addressed this issue by carving out the third-party employers, the full-service agencies, because they understood that the way to address this risk is to have a nexus through which regulation and oversight can be accomplished.
By regulating the agencies?
By regulating the full-service agencies.
What do you mean as there's a larger aging population, more services are required? Or
No, what's happening is that as the actual age of people aging in place increases, they get older, and the medical complexity of what's being managed in the home increases. Let me give you a mundane example.
No, I understand.
Madam Chair, if I could respond.
Yes, we're going to have you
respond. This is more time than
Mr. Amiano, we're going to have you respond.
Thank you.
The testimony's been quite even.
Well, this is excellent.
If one side brings more people, we're going to hear from all of them.
All right, thank you.
We're going to hear from you too. But I do think I've got a grasp of what you're saying. Unless there's questions from the members, I'm going to ask you to step away from the microphone.
Great. Thank you very much.
And I do appreciate your comments. All right.
Thank you very much.
Now, any other opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to take comments from Finance, and then we'll have the author respond to some of the issues that were brought up. Finance?
Madam Chair, we are opposed to the bill. We've identified costs for the Department of Industrial Relations, as well as we believe that there could be increased employee compensation costs due to the presumption of negligence provisions.
All righty. You're right. There's a whole lot of testimony, Mr. Amiano, and I want to err on the side of hearing it rather than not hearing it. And I want to hear from you as well. It seems to me there's some big issues that were embedded in a lot of that testimony. One is, tell me what your thoughts are on the amendments that have been brought forth by the disabled community, including the disabled organization, and then also the workers' comp issue that DOF brought up. And any of the agency issues that you choose to address.
Yeah,
so,
well,
go right ahead.
Okay, we've been working on this quite a while, and
you have.
I have to say there is the taint of the bottom line here, which is very offensive. I worked with the disabled community for 30, 40 years, and the people who represent them, while I honor them, are simply wrong about this issue, and the disabled community is far from monolithic about this issue. We understand that there are always trepidations about change, but we cannot just justify this because of a simple change. This does not mirror the New York state law, although there are many good things in the New York state law. However, we think this is better than the New York state law, because if you exempt the agencies, you exempt a whole universe of people as compared to those who might get these benefits. And that is apartheid, ladies and gentlemen. That is not equality as I understand it. In terms of going underground, and please, I waited. If you want to assist, I can give you an S.
Mr. Amiano, thanks. But to the members of the public, Mr. Amiano listened respectfully through long pro and con testimony. I expect the same from everyone. Understood.
All other industries have some standards and penalties, and this just puts domestic workers on an equal footing with others. The home care industry is not regulated by the state, and there is no oversight currently. I don't see how this bill would worsen the current situation. I think this bill creates industry-wide standards that will keep this workforce from further going underground. We do have a meeting set up on this Wednesday, I believe. This, again, is not a monolithic opposition. There are people who are for, there are people who are against and have different reasons for being against. So I can't promise we're going to satisfy everyone, but certainly my staff has made a Herculean effort to do everything we can to not have this class warfare. For decades, domestic workers have been excluded from both state and federal labor laws as a result of racist and sexist stereotypical assumptions about the nature of domestic work. I am willing to sit back and leave these exclusions intact in the face of opposition who are unwilling to pay for for the provision of rights afforded by this bill. I understand that there are unique circumstances that may create compliance challenges for some people. That is the price of equality, but I'm willing to accommodate, something that all stakeholders here should be familiar with. I would urge your support of this and the removal from the suspension list when appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Amiano. Thank you. I appreciate your comments. It is a suspense item. If there's no further comments from the members or objections, we're going to move that item to suspense. And then you have one other that you want to present on, and that is AB 308, criminal investigations, lineups in criminal investigations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it very much. According to the California Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice, one of the most frequently identified causes of wrongful conviction is the misidentification of the criminal perpetrator by eyewitnesses.
And Mr. Amiano, maybe you want to just give a minute. Folks, let's have the discussion in the hall. We have many, many bills still to hear. Thank you. All right. That's better. Thank you.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
AB 308 will establish a process whereby the Department of Justice, in consultation with the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, local law enforcement agencies, and other interested parties shall develop guidelines for policies and procedures with respect to the collection and handling of eyewitness evidence in criminal investigations. These guidelines shall be developed to ensure reliable and accurate suspect identifications and shall be consistent with the reliable evidence supporting best practices, including the recommendations of the California Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice, as well as best practices. AB 308 does not require that the guidelines only be the guidelines recommended to the California Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice, nor does AB 308 require local law enforcement agencies to adopt the guidelines that are promulgated. The Department of Justice shall report to the legislature before July 1st, 2013 on the guidelines adopted and any legislation required to implement the guidelines. The cost, the analyst claims that developing the guidelines would cost DOJ $1.2 million. However, the nearly identical measure, SB 756 by Senator Ridley Thomas in 2007-8 session, was estimated to cost DOJ $250,000. And I respectfully ask for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Amiano. We'll go to your witnesses.
Libby Sanchez on behalf of the California Public Defenders Association, one of the sponsors of this measure. We understand that this is a candidate for suspense, and so I hope that you will consider, as you're mulling over whether or not to release it, the cost implications of not implementing this measure. False eyewitness identification is one of the leading reasons that people are wrongfully convicted. We've had several wrongful convictions in this state, which have resulted in people serving very long-term prison sentences and then receiving substantial awards upon release. Just a couple of examples. Thomas Goldstein served 24 years, with the average cost of imprisonment being around $50,000. That was around $2 million of imprisonment costs on top of the $8 million settlement he received. Dwayne McKinney, 19 years with a $1.7 million settlement. Modal Cox served 34 years and received $4.25 million. So on top of the substantial costs associated...
We just settled a state claim this morning for over $100,000.
Right.
Yes.
So on top of the substantial cost of imprisoning the wrong person, we also have the settlement. Additionally, the cost estimate in your analysis associated with potential implementation. Once again, the bill does not require implementation. It merely urges law enforcement to consider. The costs associated with potential implementation are estimated in your analysis of being substantial. Yet the one county that has fully implemented all of the recommendations of the Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice in all 17 departments testified at the most recent policy committee hearing that there were no costs associated. To the contrary, costs are saved because you don't have to muck around with having to dispute protocols internally. So for those reasons, we strongly urge this to be released from suspense eventually.
We'll go to next witness.
Hi, Larry Doyle on behalf of the Conference of California Bar Associations, an organization of attorneys representing over 25 bar associations statewide, including a number of prosecutors and defense counsel. So our members come from both sides of the equation. Prior witness did a wonderful job of summarizing the issue. I'd only point out that there's a further cost in inaccurate eyewitness identification and the cost to society of having the wrong person in prison and the right person still out there committing crimes. And so that's something else that may want to be factored into the committee's thinking. And finally, just to supplement Mr. Amiano's testimony, but SB 1591, Mr. Ridley Thomas's subsequent bill, also was estimated to have costs in the neighborhood of $250,000 plus $100,000 for posts. So it's still far, far less than the $1.2 million now speculated by the Department of Justice.
Well, we can look at that while it's on suspense. Next, please.
Right, thank you. Ignacio Hernandez on behalf of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice Statewide Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys. Just associate my comments with the prior witnesses. But let me add, I have worked on these cases when I was an attorney, and it does take a lot of time and motions and hearings to try to correct problems that occur. So we can save money and save hearings and save motion time if we take care of the issues and we have standards that are at the very beginning of the process. And so there's a lot of costs that we will save. I just hope that also gets into the analysis as we go forward.
All good points. Thank you. Other testimony in favor? Testimony in favor? Then we'll take opposition testimony. In favor? Okay, opposition, come on up.
Madam Chair, Randy Perry with Aaron Reed Associates on behalf of PORAC. We're opposed to this bill. We're opposed to the previous iterations of it. Now it's a study just to the fiscal aspect. DOJ was just hit $71 million to the law enforcement division, and we're asking them to spend under $640,000 on a study that we're all opposed to and we think is not needed at this point. Also, we have officers being laid off all over the state. All of you know very well about that. And to ask local law enforcement and POST, our training organization, who we had to fight to get their money back into the budget to do this as well, as we think is poorly spent time.
Take the next witness.
Madam Chair and members, Corey Salzillo on behalf of the California District Attorneys Association in opposition to the bill. We would point out that the bill, although it only requires the development of guidelines, it requires those guidelines to be consistent with the recommendations made by the California Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice, an outcome that we disagree with given their report. It's not exactly clear that the procedures favored by the Commission are the best procedures or that they actually don't end up resulting in misidentifications. The factors that are to be considered by criminal juries are clearly articulated in CalCrim jury instructions, and we think that this bill will certainly result in the adoption of practices that aren't helpful. There's nothing that stops law enforcement from adopting, if they want to right now, adopting a set of guidelines for how they handle these lineups, and so we'd ask for your vote.
All righty, next, please.
Curtis Hill on behalf of the California State Sheriff's Association. I agree with my colleagues to my right in regard to their testimony. I sat on the Fair Administration of Justice and represented the California State Sheriff's Association. The DAs and Cal Chiefs also represented on the commission wrote letters of opposition to this issue. The assumptions that were decided upon by the commission are flawed. My colleague from the DA's Association outlined some of those assumptions. They're false. They're bad police work. I've been on the streets. I know what that takes to get good lineups, work with your DAs to get the right person. There's been hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that have been convicted because they've been rightfully identified, and this bill is quite frankly flawed.
So, as a member of the commission, the police, the sheriffs, and the DAs did not agree with the recommendations?
On this issue, correct.
On this issue, okay.
And this is after hours of debate.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
Lieutenant Barbara Ferguson, representing San Bernardino County Sheriff Rod Hoops, in opposition for the reasons stated.
All righty. Additional testimony opposed? Finance, you have a comment on this?
We are opposed to the bill on the basis of costs.
Mr. Amiano, do you want to respond to some of the comments? And again, it'll go to suspense, but we want to hear your points.
I appreciate that. This is a pretty watered down version of what we first proposed. proposed. We've accommodated many amendments, and basically this calls for the assemblage of experts to put together guidelines that may or may not be accepted. I think the fallibility of eyewitness testimony, the data on that, and the margin of error more than justifies this. We can't nickel-dime criminal justice, and I think we should emulate best practices that other states have implemented, and I would respectfully ask for a removal from suspension, and I vote, and I really appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Amiano. Comment from Senator Liu.
I actually have a question for the opposition, and I'm trying to understand this bill. The way I read it is it just asks for a study, and actually none of it has to be implemented. So it strikes me as almost a fear of too much information. I don't understand why you don't want to just get the information and then have a debate after what the study shows. You don't even know what the study's going to show, and I'm just I don't understand the opposition.
Senator Liu, are you addressing the author or
the opposition?
The DAs?
Or anyone.
Go ahead.
With the chair's permission.
One.
Senator Liu, I think the answer to your question is the reason we're concerned about it is you're right. It merely says DOJ in consultation with Post and a bunch of other law enforcement groups shall come up with a set of guidelines. Here's the problem we have. That set of guidelines will have the imprimatur of DOJ, Post, and all of the law enforcement groups. The bill also says that whatever guidelines are developed pursuant to this bill, they have to be consistent with the report of the Commission on the Fair Administration of Justice, which says you have to do double-blind sequential lineups. We are not convinced that double-blind sequential lineups are the way to go. So despite the fact that the bill does not require any law enforcement agency to adopt those guidelines, we don't think the state should be spending money. The state should be undertaking a practice where you're giving preference or you're giving some sort of, again, a government imprimatur on a notion that we don't agree with.
One quick follow-up.
Yes.
So if the bill removed the language about had to be consistent with this commission, then you would remove your opposition?
I'm not sure that would totally remove our opposition. That's the biggest problem we have with it right now, though.
All right, thank you.
All righty. Anything else, members? Seeing no other comments, Mr. Amiano, that will go to suspense. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Chesbro? He was here 1 moment ago. Oh, there you are.
Just a little traffic jam there, Madam
All
Chair.
right. There's been traffic jams all day. There's been traffic jams all day. So you're just presenting on the one?
Yes, I'm going to waive presentation on 1297 and 429.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart. AB 341, solid waste diversion.
Well, speaking of the bottom of one's heart.
Yes, I know.
You've heard this many times from me before, Madam Chair, but there are several of my former colleagues from the Assembly who are here who may not have heard it. And so I want to say to you that this bill is my highest priority bill. It's one of the main reasons I returned to the legislature. Despite California's tremendous achievement in reducing our waste stream by 50%, and through recycling and waste reduction, California still generates 93 million tons of waste each year. And collectively, our state exceeds the required 50% goal that was established 20 years ago. But despite these efforts, we still need to find better ways to reduce the waste stream. AB 341 requires that by 2020, 75% of the state solid waste generated be source reduced, recycled, or composted. We achieved the 50% goal by relying primarily on local governments. This bill moves away from that model. We feel that we really have sort of squeezed everything that we can, and the emphasis has been on residential recycling and waste reduction, and that a lot of the under-recycled or underutilized waste stream remains in the commercial waste sector, so it focuses statewide and focuses on commercial waste. As to the fiscal issues with reaching 75% goal, the cost to Cal Recycle can be accommodated within existing resources. The landfill fee that was established over 20 years ago by AB 939 was adopted to accomplish a goal, which was to reduce the state's waste stream by 50%. That goal has been accomplished. And now that that goal has been accomplished, the legislature needs to tell Cal Recycle what to do with the money. And the logical thing to do is to move to 75%. And furthermore, saying that reducing waste will cost the state funding is like saying that smoking prevention costs the state's money. That's what the funds are for. You know, the tobacco tax was to reduce smoking. The surcharge that was placed on landfills to encourage recycling waste reduction was for this purpose. We've achieved the goal. We now need to move on to 75%. And I just, in conclusion, want to say that I view myself as the keeper of the flame on this issue. I've been at it for over 40 years, long before I ever came to the legislature. I am very passionate about it, and I hope you'll join me in helping to move California forward in reducing its waste stream.
Thank you, Mr. Chesbro. Let's go to your witnesses. In favor, right?
Madam Chair, yes. Mark Aprea on behalf of Republic Services. We're fully in support of this measure. This measure and these provisions in statute have been discussed for over 3 years, and we think that this measure deserves your support. It will enhance and promote recycling and diversion throughout the state. We urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Madam Chair and members, Casey Kaneko of Suter & Associates on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, which has already achieved a 75% diversion rate and has its sights set on 100%. This is achievable. We hope to see other jurisdictions throughout the state.
Very good. We applaud your efforts. Mr. Chesbro, the analysis is troubled because by directing the locals to get to the 75% benchmark, we would be imposing programs on them that the state would be responsible for paying for.
The 75%.
That's the heart of the discussion, so that's what we need to discuss while it's on suspense.
The 75% is not, unlike the 50% mandated in AB 939, which was mandated on local government. The 75% we're asking for is a statewide goal. And so it does not place the same kind of diversion mandates on local governments that AB 939 did.
It places them on the state.
That's right.
Right.
That's
and
right.
there are costs due to that.
There are, but would you mind if I just repeat it again, Madam Chair, that
that's what the money's there for.
This was a surcharge that was intended to accomplish a particular goal, which has now been accomplished. And I would argue that this is directing the department in how to spend those resources to continue the process of reducing California's waste stream, not creating a new program or a new direction, but rather telling Cal Recycle, continue doing what you're doing with a higher goal now that the lower goal has been achieved.
Madam Chair, also there is a provision in the bill that specifies that the requirements in this bill that are imposed upon the state will not be imposed upon local agencies, specifically that the local agencies will not be penalized for any goal beyond the 50%. So I think that that's an important distinction. The author amended the bill so as to give local government comfort that that would not result in the state's obligation trickling down to local agencies.
Right. Okay.
Madam Chair, Justin Malone for the California League of Conservation. For the very reason that Mark Aprea has just explained, we do see this as a priority statewide issue, and the environmental community has listed as a hot list bill. Thank you.
Next, please.
Christina Ives with Sierra Club California, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Other testimony in favor? Come on up.
Yes, Madam Chair and members, Roxanne Miller representing the Mayor, City Council, City of San Jose in support. Thank you.
All righty. Other testimony in favor? Opposition?
Thanks.
Opposition.
Thank you. Very quickly. Jason Schmelzer for the Solid Waste Association of North America, the California chapters. We've requested a few amendments, language that was in last year's version of the bill. We're opposed at this time, but if those amendments are taken, then our opposition will be removed. Thank you.
All righty. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, this is a candidate. Oh, Finance. Do you have a
We're
comment?
opposed to the bill.
You're opposed to the bill. It'll go to suspense, and then we will discuss it while it's there.
Thank you for the opportunity to present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, you're presenting on 3 bills?
Yes, I only defer to Assemblymember Pan.
That's very kind of you. Dr. Pan's been here for hours.
Thank you, and I'll be very quick.
Dr. Pan, thank you.
Yes. Madam Chair and members,
is he on the
wish to present to you Assembly Bill 1168.
There we go. Thank you.
This is a measure to make costs and workers' compensation system more predictable, as most other services.
This is a due pass, members.
Oh, thank you. As most other services in the workers' comp system have a fee schedule, it is appropriate that there's a fee schedule for vocational experts as well. We did discover a drafting error in the latest version of the bill and intend to add the word by to line 8 before the appeals board. So it's basically a grammatical issue. Jason Schmesler, representing the CSAC Excess Insurance Authority and the California Association of Joint Power Authorities, is here to help answer any of the committee's questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Jason Schmelzer for CSAC Excess Insurance Authority and the California Coalition on Workers' Compensation. We're in support of the bill. I'll just say if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Point out that the finance analysis does say the costs are minor and absorbable. It'll actually save the state money in the long run, according to my client, in claims costs, but also in reduced disputes at the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board. So we urge your aye vote.
All righty, next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Julianne Burrows here on behalf of the California Association of Joint Powers Authorities. Happy to be the co-sponsor of AB 1168. Certainly we agree that all of the benefit of having a fee schedule set up will actually end up being a cost saver in the long run. So would ask for a aye vote for you, the bill when it comes before you. Mike Carroll with the California Applicant Attorneys Association. I would note for the committee, since this is a due pass, that we have both business and the applicant attorneys on the same side of this bill. We urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Thomas Avu with the California Chamber of Commerce in support.
Iris Herrera with the California Special Districts Association in strong support. Amber Wiley with the Alpha Fund in support.
Elaine Ortega, California State Association of Counties in support.
Excuse me, Robert Cottle, California chapter of the of IARP in support as amended.
Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Finance, do you have a comment on this one?
We're neutral.
Members, any comments or questions? This is a due pass. Senator Alquist moves the bill as amended, and we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Walters? Alquist? Alquist, aye. Emerson? Emerson, aye. Liu? Liu, aye. Pavley? Price? Price, aye. Runner? Steinberg?
Yes. 5-0. You have enough votes, but we're keeping it open for Senator Walters.
Okay. Thank you so very much. I'm waiving presentation on the other bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pan. Appreciate your patience very much. Mr. Allen, then. And let's see, you're presenting on all three. Let's start with AB 366, and let's be as brief as possible, if you could, please.
I understand fully. Yes. With AB 366, I'm going to just deal with the cost issues rather than go over the whole bill, just to make it briefer. There was a letter from Judicial Council citing increased caseloads and other responsibilities as a result of making this increased costs. However, everyone involved in the bill is in agreement that it will actually reduce caseloads and streamline the process. So if there shouldn't be a cost issue there. There's also the Judicial Council cited transportation costs for DMH psychiatrists. However, these already occur, and under this bill, actually the travel would occur less frequently. So I think on these particular cost items, they will be actually results in cost savings over time. So I urge
Let's go to your witnesses. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Randall Hager on behalf of the California Psychiatric Association. We do agree with the author. We think there are cost savings because of the nature of these proceedings and the way they've been conducted as opposed to the way they will be. Thanks.
Alrighty, thank you.
Judy Wolin with NAMI California in strong support.
Thank you. Other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Finance, do you have a comment?
We're neutral.
Already, that measure goes to suspense, and we'll work with the author while it's there. Then we'll take up AB 1195, personal income and corporation taxes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This bill has enjoyed strong bipartisan support. It modifies the job creation tax credit eligibility requirements. The companies that now will be eligible will be 50 or fewer employees as opposed to the 20. The money has already been allocated for it. As this bill has gone through the various committees and the Assembly, it's enjoyed bipartisan support with no opposition. So essentially, we think this is a good bill
How
with
has the
minimal
money
costs.
been allocated, Mr. Allen?
Yes.
How?
It's a pre-existing fund. This jobs tax credit was created a few years ago. The problem is that the money actually is not going out the door.
It has not been claimed yet, but it is a direct allocation from the general fund should those tax credits be claimed on corporate or personal income taxes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. So
maybe my nomenclature isn't precise,
so the general
but
fund goes down if
yes.
the tax is claimed. Nothing's been allocated yet. Do you have witnesses for the bill? Witnesses against the bill? Or Mr. Emerson, would you care to make a comment?
Since this used to be my bill and it was held in the Assembly, Appropriations, I'd like to be added as a co-author if this comes off suspend.
That's mighty bipartisan.
That seems fair.
Senator Emerson, we'll keep that in mind. We'll just keep that in mind. And we will. The staff will make a note of that.
Yes.
Any other testimony? Perhaps Department of Finance would like to weigh in.
Madam Chair, we've identified a loss of revenue of $75 million in 2011 and 12. We are opposed to the bill.
All righty. Suspense item. If there's no objections, we will do that and move on to AB 1320, Public Employees Retirement.
Yeah, essentially, this bill is one of the reforms that was recommended by the Little Hoover Commission. Essentially provides for rate stabilization for pensions that would eliminate pension holidays. The money would accrue in times that are good. The fund would be drawn down when times are bad. But essentially, it's a way to stabilize pension funds for public sector workers. And I think we have witnesses and support here.
We'll go to your witnesses.
Madam Chair, members, Christy Baumer representing the California Professional Firefighters. Pleased to be sponsors and support of this bill. Those folks who have suggested that the pension system may be unsustainable are really just looking at one static snapshot in history. So if you look at the history of contribution rates throughout the life of the pension system, you'll see that they sort of go up and down. And so when they're high, obviously they feel very unsustainable. And when they evaporate, seems like everything's for free. So this is a bill that just will make sure that agencies and employees are actually paying for the cost of the benefit, nothing that's subsidized by market increases or declines. We ask for your consideration when it moves off suspense.
I think there's some merit to the idea of smoothing. Is there any? Oh, go ahead.
Sarah Flox on behalf of the California Labor Federation, also in support of this bill. We think that it will bring more predictability and stability into our pension system, which is good for public employees and good for the state. We urge your support. Thank you.
Very good. Additional testimony in favor? Any opposition? Finance?
No file.
Members, any comments? Otherwise, it will go to suspense, and we'll work with you there. Thank you so much, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez, Ms. Skinner, Mr. Fong, Ms. Mitchell, I think we're up. You have two items, AB 396, juvenile detention and Medi-Cal payments.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I'll briefly like to present on both.
Go right ahead.
If you don't mind, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank my witnesses for hanging in there for a long day. First, I'd like to present AB 396, which will require the State Department of Healthcare Services to develop a process to maximize federal financial participation for the healthcare services provided by counties and the state to juveniles who are in custody and would otherwise be eligible for Medi-Cal. Many minors who are detained in local detention facilities and the Division of Juvenile Facilities within the Department of Corrections and Rehab require medical care that requires hospitalization. Currently, the county and CDCR are responsible for the total cost of inpatient care of these minors. This bill would allow counties and CDCR to draw down federal matching funds to reimburse them for the medical treatment for minors who are outside the county detention facility or the Division of Juvenile Facilities for more than 24 hours and placed in inpatient facilities for treatment of their medical condition. We've taken amendments to AB 396 as suggested by the committee. The language added gives counties the right to negotiate with the state regarding the admin costs that the county will pay beyond absorbable costs to the state's general fund. Here with me today to discuss some of the issues related to the bill or answer any of your specific questions is Gerardo Pinelo, representing LA County.
Good afternoon, Madam.
On the fiscal issues, very briefly, sir. Thanks.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, honorable members of the committee. Gerardo Pinedo, Director of Government Relations for LA County's Department of Health Services. LA County is proud to sponsor AB 396 by Assemblymember Holly Mitchell. As the Assemblymember stated, AB 396 is an opportunity to maximize federal participation without any cost to the state. Essentially, counties would use their own funds as a match to obtain federal reimbursement for juvenile detainees who receive medical care in our inpatient facilities. While medical care is provided in these facilities already, there are times when more extensive care is needed, and we need to transport them to our hospitals for inpatient care. We believe that AB 396 is good public policy as well as good fiscal policy, and for that reason we urge your aye vote. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any other testimony in favor? In favor. Come on up, please.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California Chapter. We're also in support of this bill.
Curtis Hill on behalf of the Chief Probation Officers of California and the California Probation, Parole, and Corrections Association. Support of the bill. It's a good bill.
Libby Sanchez on behalf of the California Public Defenders Association, also in support.
Glenn Backus for the Yellow Baker Center for Human Rights, representing families of incarcerated youth, in support.
Geraldine Stapleton, Vice President, California National Organization for Women, in support of this bill. Thank you.
Any other support? Is there any opposition? Any opposition to the bill and finance?
We're neutral.
We're neutral. Members, this is a candidate in suspense, but it has a lot of merit to it, so let's work out a lot there. And then we'll move on to AB 727.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I appreciate your support on that measure. AB 727 would require the food sold in vending machines, concessions, and cafeterias in state-owned buildings to meet minimum nutritional and sustainability standards. Specifically, foods in vending machines must meet 50% of federal nutritional standards. Some of you who may recall this issue has been brought up in previous sessions by your former colleague, Mr. Torlakson. The current law brings the standard up to 35%. We seek to extend the current law up to 50% of the federal nutritional standards. Why, you may ask? Obesity levels in California are staggering. In 2006, obesity, excess weight, and physical inactivity cost the state upwards of $41 billion in health care costs and lost productivity. This bill would promote a healthier workforce by making healthy food options more accessible and affordable. Studies have shown that there is a strong relationship between the physical and social environments at the workplace and the health behaviors of employees. The analysis from finance states that the implementation of the bill would cost over $400,000. We believe, however, that these costs are associated with the previous legislation, which required that 35% of foods in vending machines meet healthy standards. The state should already be enforcing those standards, so we don't think it'll be an additional $400,000.
No, the analysis is based on the current bill, Ms. Mitchell.
Okay, so I think we have a difference of opinion then.
Fine. And that's
here with me today to discuss the bill is Ellen Wu, Executive Director of California Pan-Ethnic Health Network, and several other witnesses in support.
Welcome.
And they'll keep it brief.
They will certainly have to, on the fiscal issues only, very briefly.
Okay, so as much as 10% of approximately $4 billion of the CalPERS spends each year on health benefits is spent on obesity-related conditions, such as cardiovascular diseases and diabetes. AB 727 will help drive down healthcare costs by ensuring that state employees have choice of healthy and nutritious food options. Also, DGS and DOR already have responsibilities under the previous bill, so they should already be incurring the costs identified in the analysis. Then with regards to vending sales, cities, schools, and health organizations that have included healthy foods in vending machines have found limited impact on sales. For example, Kaiser Permanente study comparing vending machine sales that included 50% healthy snacks compared to similar time the previous year saw 98% in sales, and at one facility experienced an increase of 111% in healthy options in beverage vending machines. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, please.
Ryan Spencer with the California Medical Association in support.
LA County Department of Health Services in strong support.
Kim Lewis with SEIU Local 1000 representing California state employees in support.
Public Health Institute in strong support.
Alicia Sanchez with the American Cancer Society in support.
Alrighty. Other testimony in favor? Opposition? Any opposition? Seeing none,
No,
finance.
they're coming.
All right.
Here they go.
Come on up. Come on up. Take a seat.
Madam Chair and members, Bob Ackerman on behalf of the California Nevada Soft Drink Association. Very briefly, we do oppose that portion of the bill that does increase the nutritious food standard from 35 to 50%. We do believe in choice. We do believe the current law requires the choice to be available. That should be sufficient. The marketplace will dictate what consumers want to purchase. If those percentages shift, they will shift, and people will put into those vending machines what people want to buy. So we prefer to allow the consumer to have that choice and allow the marketplace to dictate.
All righty. Next, please.
Jeff Tom, California Council of the Blind, and I will be very brief, Madam Chair and members.
Thank you.
Just 2 points. First, it is our understanding that county revenue from vending machine sales has dropped 40% since the imposition of the requirement. So that would obviously mean that there will be a similar drop in sales, we think, for state vending facilities with these requirements. Secondly, we feel that it is very poor government policy to expand the scope of a law when it is unclear and there is little data to indicate whether or not the costs to both to the state and to blind small business owners are far